crisis. Mariam Wardak is the founder of Her Afghanistan, which is an organization dedicated to the advancement of Afghan women. She joins us now from Washington. Mariam, thank you for joining us here in this early hour. I'm going to play a bit of a devil's advocate here because when you look at the headlines about women's future in Afghanistan after the Taliban takeover, I think you would agree that a majority of them will paint it as sort of an uncertainty looming. Is there really any uncertainty with the Taliban?
Okay, so I want to give a bit of a generic statement and then go into the details of it. So we have to understand that Afghans face the confluence of multiple crises right now. And when I'm talking about Afghans, I'm particularly also talking about the women here. Beyond the pandemic, there's a drought, and we have to understand that women actually, most of the women are the ones who work in the fields in Afghanistan. Your former correspondent just mentioned the dire economy. We have a humanitarian crisis, the possible civil clashes, ethnic disputes, and then the chunk of isolating women from rebuilding the country. You know, anxiety is palpable, particularly for Afghans who don't wish to be under the current structure. Activists, intellectuals, artists, writers who are majority women feel uncertain about their future. And there's like this profound sense of betrayal from the president who was elected by 4 million in the last election, and the vice president who then decided to really vamp up the resistance, and then also foreign allies. So Afghan women who really believed in democracy, who really believed in the support of foreign allies, are just distraught. And the fact on how they are coming together in trying to move forward and to continue some sort of normalcy, that's extremely profound in its own way. What we can do moving forward is how to continue to put these pressures. I see the UN, I see the United States and other former allies put continuous pressure on how women's rights must be preserved and the progress should not be going backwards. And this is what needs to continue because we have to understand that the Afghan Taliban do not know how to run a government. They are very good at their military tactics. We've seen this in the past 20 years, but having a functional government requires skills, requires an understanding that half of the population cannot be excluded and must be supported in this process because we've had phenomenal women in such technical fields from technology to policy making and etc. So I'm extremely concerned, but
Okay,
I
Mariam,
can't.
I want to ask you, I mean, so how do we move forward? Because you were briefly talking about that. I mean, there was one report out there that stated that most Afghan men believe that women are actually inferior to women are actually inferior to men, and that they have no right to freedom. I mean, if this is the case, how do you instill basic universal rights to a region like this, regardless of whether or not the Taliban are there?
Well, the beauty here is that we use our religion. You see, Islam actually provides Afghan women with a lot of rights. And the fact that they use Islam against women, this is the conversation that needs to take place. And this is why my organization has called out Islamic scholars to take part in this dialogue to help frame Afghan women participation in the structure of the society. That's one component. Second component is that we have to be very understanding that although women have certain gains in the Islamic structure, actually culture is used against her. And these are the silent battles that women have been constantly facing in the past decades, but nobody has discussed it. And this is the time that we need to discuss it and identify the differences so we can move forward. And it's not going to be an easy battle. I know what I'm saying is not simple, but we have to start these conversations and pushing these narratives for individuals who are not as educated and aware of the possibilities of how far women can advance to bring this to their attention.
Mariam, I have about a minute left with you. The factors behind the situation of women in Afghanistan, what do you think it is mainly? Is it illiteracy? Is it a sort of a culture of impunity? What is it?
I think it's a combination of everything. It's illiteracy. It's it's also the unknown. Many of I know the last 20 years we've seen all these gains, but these gains were mostly in urban areas. The rural areas still have not known how to adapt with women in workforces or women who are pretty much leading the household. And many of the people don't really understand that much of Afghanistan society has turned into a matriarch because they've lost so many men in the battle for the past 50 to 60 years. And this is the problem. It's the simplicity of the unknown in helping them understand that it could be in the best interest of the country and their households for women to participate.
All right. Her Afghanistan's founder, Mariam Wardak, pleasure having you on. Thank you very much.